Well, since we ended the politics section talking about coronavirus, we're going to start with the sports section doing the exact same thing. There was going to be a game on Sunday between the Tennessee Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers, which then got postponed because the Tennessee Titans, as of today, have, I want to say 16.
Wow, is it 16?
No. Like,
no, you know what? I just read that there was 3 more.
3 more, yeah. I think they have 16 cases of COVID-19 between players, coaches, staff altogether. Funny enough, they played the Vikings last week, and there are no cases amongst the Vikings, just the Titans. So what they decided was that the matchup between the Titans and the Steelers would be considered a bye week for both teams to get a bye week this week.
Hold on.
Yeah.
No, first they tried to postpone it until Tuesday or Wednesday, but then I think what happened is the Titans, their cases have gone so far away from them that there's no possible way that they can fit it in.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. They're going to do the bye, which we could discuss in a minute.
Okay.
If we think that's the proper response.
Right. So they decided to make this their bye week instead, and move their matchup to week 7. I want to say it was.
Did they both have the same bye?
No, they didn't. So they've moved the matchup to week 7, and they've moved around another one of the Steelers matchups to accommodate that, because I believe week 7 was the bye for the Titans. So they just kind of swapped that around. So that was going to be the only postponement of the week. But then earlier today, today is Saturday, the 3rd of October, we got word that Cam Newton had tested positive for COVID-19.
Before that, but remember, let's also talk about the week before that. So our week 3 game, the Falcons week 3 game, AJ Terrell, who is the cornerback that we drafted in our first round, he actually is currently, if I'm not mistaken, he's still on the COVID exemption list because he by himself got COVID, but he didn't. Nobody else on the Falcons staff or team got it. So that was actually week 2 to going into week 3. This is week 3 going into week 4, where first it was the Titans getting it. Now, as of today, October 3rd, we found out that now Cam Newton. So now the Patriots game is being postponed. But that one's being postponed. That one hasn't been moved just yet.
Right. So Cam Newton has the virus. We learned that early this morning. Yes, this is right. The game has been postponed. It would have been played tomorrow, but the thing about it is, unlike with the Titans, where we found out much earlier in the week, we found out the Cam Newton one the day before. And anyone who's been following this knows that the incubation period for the virus is like 2 or 3 days. They don't want a situation in which they go and play the game tomorrow and they have other people testing positive that they hadn't identified because the incubation period hadn't elapsed. So they've extended, they've given themselves another day just so they can do more tests. If more people end up coming down with the virus, then they'll probably take the same tact that they did with the Titans and Steelers game and then postpone it to one of the teams' bye week. But just one more thing. So if it ends up just being Cam, then they will likely play Monday or Tuesday. So
with the backup quarterback.
With the backup quarterback.
Yeah.
So that's
which I guess is kind of the way they did it with AJ Terrell, because they first checked and see, because his was early enough, because I think they found his out like Tuesday or Wednesday. His was early enough where then they were able to like, we could proceed with the game as usual. And just a quick update or a quick correction, I guess, in regards to the Pittsburgh Steelers. What happened was that was the original Tennessee Titans bye week, which is week 7. Week 8 is the original, or I'm sorry, what happened is the Baltimore Ravens Steelers game, that one got adjusted where they're playing their original bye week because they both had the same bye week. So all that has to happen is the bye week of the Baltimore Ravens was moved up to an extra. So
7.
basically they play one game before their bye week had originally started week 7. Instead now, or week 8.
No. Yeah. Baltimore would have been week 8. So
Yes,
now
yes.
they're going to
They
be
moved now their bye week is week 7, so their bye week just moved up a little bit earlier.
right
So
to accommodate the Steelers versus Titans game.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I have a question in regards to this, in regards to you. One, not in regards to you, but in regards to the football team. One, how do you feel the NFL is responding to these outbreaks?
I think they're doing the best they can, to be honest. I haven't seen anything to suggest that this is the result of like a failure of leadership or anything like that. The NFL was very adamant about trying to get this season going, regardless of
Continuing. Continuing.
no, even talking about starting it up.
Oh,
Regardless
gotcha. Yeah.
of the increase that was the spikes that were happening in like Florida and some of these other states. And by all accounts, he did a good job of starting it. But now, I mean, all it takes is one staffer not doing the right thing or one
Yeah.
player going to the wrong place, and all of a sudden it can like really spread through an organization. I am of the opinion that this isn't going to end well, and the season probably ends at the halfway point, but we'll see.
I think so.
Mm.
So I'm in agreement with you. Originally, I got kind of pissed or I was like, okay, they're still caring about the big bucks when they postponed it to they were trying to postpone to the Tennessee Titans Steelers game to like Tuesday or Wednesday. I was like, because now you're screwing up with them in regards to their post that game, right? Now these people are playing on Tuesday. Now they only have, so if they get paid on Sunday, now they only have 5 days in between, opposed to their usual 6 days to rest, or 4 days depending on when they play, right? It's just football is much more brutal of a sport than any other huge American sport, right? It's hard for you to play 2 games in a week. One of the biggest things that Thursday Night Football commits to is you end up getting injuries, right? So I think what they should have done, since they knew they were going to cancel the preseason game, I think they should have moved up the season to start it earlier. And the reason I say that is so they can include 1 or 2 additional bye weeks to allow them wiggle room. Because this happened before where the bye week – so remember week 1 a few years back, I think it was Tampa versus – I forgot. It was Tampa Bay was involved because obviously they're in our division, where I think something happened to the field where they couldn't perform. They couldn't play on that, and so they ended up moving. They just made week 1 or week 2 their bye. I think it was week 2. They made week 2 their bye, and then they had to play. So what ends up happening is now you have a group of players who end up having to play 15 long weeks, right? Now you're going to have the Steelers. Now their week 4 is their bye week. Now they have 13 weeks straight of play, right? So it kind of that affects the players, it affects the games. That's in regards to football operation. I think they need to they're going to have to, if they really want to keep the games going, they're probably going to have to create a bubble. They're going to have to find a way to make it, and it's going to be hard it's one thing for how many people are on a baseball team?
40, I think.
Okay.
I think that your 25. And then your playoff roster, I think, is like 40. Or actually, sorry, it's the other way around. It's the other way around. Sorry, 40, then
really 40, 25? Okay.
Yeah.
So you have baseball. Remember, they still weren't able to do a bubble because that's just too many players to do a bubble, and they asked them to do it for
the playoffs. A bubble.
The playoffs are a bubble? Okay.
Yeah.
See, the playoffs are a bubble because it's a short amount of time. NBA, the whole entire remainder of the season was a bubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then but that's only how many players? 12 players, right? Or how many are on the NBA roster? 12, right? So it's 12, right? It's 24 each for 2 teams. So it's just a little easier for them to do it, right? NFL is a little bit harder. You're talking about 16 weeks. I think what they might do in order to avoid the cancellation of the season, they might have to look into stating we're going to have to make the season shorter or less games to allow more bye weeks in order to allow teams the opportunities. Because what's going to happen if this happens to these 2 teams again? You
Well,
know,
yeah. I don't think they can make it shorter at this point. Um, because you've already started the schedule,
schedule.
right? Like
Yeah.
if because what baseball did, right? Um, when they knew that they were reducing it to a 60-game season, they made it so that you play your division games and then you play against one division from the other league. So for the Braves, we played the National League East, and then we played the American League East, and that was it. Um, because the season has already started in the NFL, we can't make that determination anymore because the Falcons have already played a team from the NL West. They played a team from the NL East. NFC, sorry. They played a team from the NFC East, NFC West, and
I was
the
like, wait,
yeah.
when
Sorry,
did the Falcons join
I was
the?
baseball. I was talking baseball. So they played a team from the NFC East, NFC West, and the NFC North. So now
I can
you can't make that
I can
determination.
agree with you a little bit, but I think they still have. There's still enough right now, enough games not played where they can still kind of find a way. Because obviously, the number one thing is you got to play your division, right?
Yeah,
We haven't played our division yet, but the Saints and the Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers have played the division,
but
right?
if we're gonna say that no, what we want is you only pay your division and maybe the NFC East or something
No,
like
no, no,
that.
no. I'm not saying that you have to that they have to revamp the entire season to include the. I'm saying
They would
like,
have to.
and
They would have
no, they
to.
do, but the division is the number. You have to play your division, right? So
Hmm.
basically, they could reassess. Look at this is how many. Okay, these division games have been played. All right, but obviously there are some teams that haven't played the division at all. Okay, so we have to have at least 6 more games, right, in
Hmm.
order to make sure that these division, right. But the thing is that they're going to have to find a. They got to find somewhere to. They
Do you
have to
know
have a
what
contingency plan.
you know what will happen if they do it that way? If they say, you know what, let's boil this season down to just your division games. Tampa Bay will be 1-1 because they lost to the Saints and they beat the Panthers, right? Um, the Falcons will be 0-0 because they haven't played a single division game yet. That's why it's very hard now to now say we got to change it. The only thing I think the best thing the NFL can do, I think you had a really good idea about having extra bye weeks. They have to push the playoff start
You know why they don't
further.
want to do that? They don't want to push when the Super Bowl starts.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
that's
but
the
they have to.
problem for
They
them
have
is they
to.
don't want to push when the Super Bowl starts because obviously that's a holiday. A lot of
They
plans are
have
already
to.
done. Even though I don't think they're going to be able to do the Super Bowl the way they normally do it, it's not going to be.
You can just restart from they don't want to push where the Super Bowl starts.
Yeah, they're not going to push where the Super Bowl starts because that's the big holiday. Even though I don't think they have it figured out, they haven't. They really. I think what's happening is there's a lot of these guys in charge who just really, really think, hey, maybe there's a way we can still recomp some money, right? There's a way that we can recomp this us losing money this year, and maybe we will have be able to have something for the Super Bowl. But the Super Bowl is going to be played in front of no fans at this point. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. They need to at least. I would say instead of starting January 1st usually is when, or
It's
January
usually
the
like the
first week
first
of January.
weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, so it would be, if I'm not mistaken, January 3rd would be the first playoff game,
Okay.
or January 2nd, because it's usually a Saturday that they started off on.
Hmm.
January, just, you might have to wait until after what, MLK is like the 21st usually. Like, you might have to wait until after that and just push the postseason to that. It might have to be where you just basically say, we're going to dwindle it down to 4 teams, you know? And then it's going to have to be,
The
that'd be
playoffs?
horrible.
No
That'd
way.
be horrible.
No way
They
you do
won't, but
that. Absolutely no
they
way.
have to revamp some. The thing is though, they got to realize is, look, COVID is not going to cater to your needs. You have to cater your response to COVID. But going back real quickly to what you said, I think you're right. I think the NFL is doing a lot better job than what than some people might give them credits for. Because, like I said, I thought first that we are going to postpone the just try to postpone the game, but then I guess it was part of their plan is first you postpone, kind of like what they're doing with camp. First you postpone it, and then you reschedule it if it turns out that you can't
More
continue with the game.
cases, or
Yeah, more cases
because
or whatnot.
if it's just cam, you can just treat it like an injury. I mean, it's a sport with a lot of injuries where teams always have to
Well, yeah, that's
put
why they
in
created the
backups and
COVID
stuff.
19. They created the COVID 19 non-injury list. Like
Yeah,
you're just part of that because it's kind of the same thing with the flu. If somebody
yeah,
gets the flu,
exactly.
they get put on injury reserve for that
So
one day or whatever.
so it sucks, but
I
you
mean,
can chalk it up to an injury. But when you have 16 people in your organization getting it, that's
yeah.
not an injury. That's
I think what's going to have to
yeah.
happen though is they're going to have to go down hard on the Tennessee Titans. They're
Mm.
going to have to be like, look, you guys did not put anything in place for you guys to make sure that this didn't, or you didn't do enough for this to happen.
Something
I
obviously
think
happened.
coaches, are going to all have to go up to the top.
But I gotta say, now that I'm thinking about it, right, it usually takes about 2 weeks to get through this
Yeah.
virus.
Yeah.
I think the Titans might get the week 5 game postponed. I didn't even thought about it till just now, but I don't see
Either
how they
that
can
or
beat.
they're going to have to since they figure out who it is, they're going to be like, you guys are going to have to figure out who to put in their replacement. And the Titans might
Yeah.
have to be playing with because how many players is it? Do we know?
55 in the. Oh, how many
No,
players? Oh, um, I don't know. I don't know.
I could check. I could
Yeah.
try to check real fast. But yeah, so if it's the if it's the week, it might have to be one of those times where they just be like, look, we're gonna have to. If one game gets canceled for two teams, they might have to pick and choose and be like, we're gonna cancel these games for
Mm.
the rest of these teams in order to keep it even because you can't do uneven amount of games for that. Just doesn't. That's just not fair,
Yeah.
So let's see. Oh, it's oh wow, they have 2, 4, 5, 6,
6 players.
six
Okay.
players so far. So they might just have to be like, if it's contained, be like, in order for y'all to play for week 5, y'all gonna have to
Oh,
replace
the
all
the
6 of these
Falcons have
players.
10 players on the injury list, so they can do it. They can make it
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
Um,
So
okay.
um, real quickly though about the NFL. NFL at least is trying, right? Because remember what happened is so far 5 coaches have been fined because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing with their face masks. So far, they are John Gruden of the Las Vegas Raiders, Sean Payton of the New Orleans Saints, Pete Carroll of the Seattle Seahawks, Kyle Shanahan of the San Francisco 49ers, and then Vic Fangio of the Denver Broncos. These are all head coaches. So they are going, and they're finding them they're not, for us, they're not pennies, but for them, they might be $100,000.
And as we were talking, I actually just got a notification. Las Vegas Raiders will have to pay $50,000 in fines after allowing a non-credentialed employee into the locker room after its week 2 win. That's breaking COVID-19 rules. So
So the problem is what's going to have to happen is that they're going to have to go down hard on these players and these coaches and these teams and be like, look, y'all either going to take this shit seriously or you're not going to take this seriously. But either way, if you don't take this seriously, you're sacrificing your entire sport because it
yeah,
could be canceled. But anyways,
yeah.
speaking of devastations,